Friendship with God. That's what we're talking about here today on Why It Matters. This is the Why It Matters Catholic Podcast, and we are in Book 1, Chapter 8 of the Imitation of Christ. It says, "Nor should you be on familiar terms with anybody of the opposite sex. Of all good holy women make but one reckoning, and commend them to the mercy of God. Keep your friendship for God and his holy angels, shunning the acquaintance of men." Now, concerning friendship with the opposite sex, we have to be aware that Thomas à Kempis, the man who wrote The Imitation of Christ, was a monk. If you have a monk who has taken a vow of celibacy, and they are hanging around with women, you can see that this would be an area of temptation and distraction for people like Thomas à Kempis. That doesn't mean that there's anything negative towards the woman. It's just a recognition of the natural attraction that God puts between men and women. Without that beautiful, wonderful attraction, the species would never reproduce. But for a man in Thomas à Kempis' position, it would distract him from his calling in life. So instead of focusing so much on the comment about friendship with women, let's look at the last part, friendship with God. The Apostle James wrote in chapter 4 of his New Testament letter, "Unfaithful creatures, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Or do you suppose it is in vain that the Scripture says, 'He yearns jealousy over the Spirit, which he has made to dwell in us'? But he gives more grace. Therefore, it says, 'God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you men of double mind. Be wretched, and mourn, and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to dejection. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you." Here you have this great dichotomy set up between friendship with the world and friendship with God. Friendship with the world would mean that you share the perspective, the values, and the beliefs of the world. You praise and desire what society desires, wealth, power, and status. You do not hold the values of Christ, which would include sacrifice, denying yourself, pursuing holiness and virtue, rather than praise and admiration. The world builds up pride and calls us to be self-centered. This does not match Christ, who humbled himself to the point of the cross. To be friends with God, we need to examine the types of friendship. Aquinas lists 3 types of friendship. There are those of usefulness, those of delight, and those of virtue. Sometimes we have friendship of usefulness, such as co-workers, neighbors, or other people. These friendships are not built upon shared values, beliefs, or even goodwill, but are instead about connecting and the mutual support and help towards a mission. You might be friends with your neighbor because you loan tools once in a while, or if they are on vacation, you might mow their yard. But the friendship does not go deeper than the mutual exchange of favors. There is also friendship of delight. These people are those that you would be around somebody because they bring happiness and joy in your life. These are the life of the party type of people, where you're not going to ask them for life advice, but you do enjoy being around them. You always laugh and have a good time, but you're never going to share your heart with them. Finally, the most important type of friendship is one based upon virtue. These friends are trying to be the people God has called them to be, while also helping you become the person God is calling you to be. There is accountability, mutual challenge, love, and support in these friendships, and they encourage you down the path of holiness. Now let's take these 3 types of friendship and consider a friendship with God through that lens. When you pray, do you approach God as a friend? Or do you approach him because he's useful to you? Do you seek to know God, or do you seek to get something out of him? When you pray, do you approach God as a friend, or do you approach him because he makes you happy? Are you trying to chase that emotional uplift, those good feelings, those consolations, or are you actually being open and vulnerable with the Lord, even if what he says to you is hard, sacrificial, and will not make you happy? Finally, Do you approach God as a friend because of his virtue? Because of who he is? We need to recognize that God is perfect, and we need to appreciate God for who God is, not what God does for us. Let us sanctify our earthly friendships, but also pursue the kind of friendship with God that God deserves. Join us next time here on Why It Matters, and may God bless you as you walk towards him.